So this is the Ned and Jake rug. I'm putting the binding, and as I say, I've used a 2-inch binding. I really like the smaller binding. See the difference with the original? I like the smaller binding. So that would be a 1 1/4 inch strip. So the first thing I would do is I would cut two strips the length of the rug, and I would cut 2 strips the width of the rug. I would start right to the end and put my binding, and I will show you. First I would put my fabric on that I'm using as a lining, and I basted it on. The rug's too large to have pins everywhere. And then I cut the lining even with the rug. I did not cut in the rug, and that's why in the instructions I said to make sure your edges are even, because you're feather stitching, you're staying your stitches, either starting or staying your stitches on the end, and you don't want to cut that stay off and then your stitches are going to come out. So you are very careful not to cut. You have a straight line pretty much, so you're very careful not to cut your wool, just the fabric. So the first thing I'll show you is basically how to stitch a binding on. See if I can get close here. You have your 4 folds, your 4 pieces. The first fold, that becomes your stitching line. So it's important to keep the binding even with the top of what you're doing if you don't want to cut in your material, in your rug. So I'll put a few stitches there. Don't put it down here and have that much out. You can see. Put it up so that you can't see, but when you pin it, pin through all your layers, and you go along and pin. The advantage of having your binding folded is you have a nice straight line that you can guide for your stitching. Where you put your binding, where you stop and start, depends on how you finish the corners of your rug. If you are doing a finish that's like this, that is how we're doing the Ned and Jake one, then it's just a matter of starting on the end. If you are doing one with a continuous strip and you want to round your corners a bit, you do not start in a corner. You start in somewhere in the middle on a straight piece. And I will show you that later, but with Ned and Jake we are doing the stitching from end to end. We're not going to have any joins. So it's a matter of pinning and finding my needle. Okay, my needle is gone. It's very nice to have extra needles threaded. So there's my line that that's my fold. So I just, through all layers, just do a running stitch. Keeping my stitches on that fold. And I'll see if I can bring that in a bit. Oh, it's just, there's the fold. Oh, it's just in and out. And I'm just using ordinary sewing thread, cotton thread. Rocking out. So I would do that until I get to a corner. And in the next video I will show you how to do the corner, because really you need to do the corner before you need to turn the fabric over and do the rest of the stitching.